This is the Political Spotlight.
The Political Spotlight is a joke. It's more like a political flop.
Nobody listens to Bilbrey.
He's just a wannabe podcaster. No one takes him seriously.
He is a rude, crude dude that will never go any further than broadcasting from his mother's basement.
Bilbrey is a wrecking ball for Indiana politicians.
Grab another box of Twinkies and generic cola, Bilbrey.
And get back to your microphone and your audience of nobodies.
The Political Spotlight is a joke. It's
He is like a rude, crude dude that will never go
Bilbrey's a wrecking ball for Indiana. Shut that stupid Bilbrey up.
Okay, well, you can hear and see me. I'm hoping that's a good sign. I'm pulling the phone up here real quick. All right, it looks like on the phone wise we're doing well. Nope. All right. I'm just going to take a couple deep breaths in. We're going to see how things are going. I'm going to kill the monitor here. We've killed that monitor. So this is a work in progress, ladies and gentlemen. I do want to give a shout out. I do want to give a shout out to Hoosier Technologies. I'm trying to figure out. I mean, I just don't want to do. There's too much to talk about for last night's episode, and I don't want to do it in this shitty show. So I want to let you guys know that Hoosier Technologies is a company here in Muncie, and they are the ones that are helping me. I know it doesn't appear as though things are much better at the moment, but I do truly feel confident that they are working. So basically, the gentleman came out and spent a couple of hours, maybe not a couple of hours, definitely a good hour, maybe a little bit more, looking at what we needed to do. And he said we essentially needed one of two things. We could do two things. And we basically needed to try out one and then the other. And it was basically whichever one came first, we would try one, and if it worked, great, and if it didn't, the other. So we are trying the first method. I said all kinds of things last night, Stumblefoot. We will try to get to that. I bet you need both just because it's me. That is a very good possibility. I don't know. So it looks like we're doing well, and I'm just not going to talk about it and hope it does well. I'm going to tell you right now, if it continues to be choppy before we get into things, I'm just going to kill it. And because there's too much that we have to talk about, and I'm not going to have it be a shitty performance. I cannot do it. I cannot do it. So, okay. We're going to go ahead and get straight into it, ladies and gentlemen. Before we get there, please, well, maybe not. Maybe you're like, I'm not going to smash no like buttons or anything because this is a shit show. So we'll just have to see what goes on. Smash the like button. Maybe it'll help me out. We'll see what happens. So, ladies and gentlemen, Welcome. It is the 710th episode of the Political Spotlight. We are broadcasting live on Tuesday, August 4th, 2026. I apologize that we didn't do a show last night. The reason we didn't do a show last night was because, once again, the Muncie City Council meeting lasted a very long time. And by the time I got home, it was probably 20 after 10, closer to 10:30. And so that's just too late to start the program. So we shit-canned last night's episode, and that's what we're doing tonight. Tonight, if the tech gremlins are going to be with us and not against us, we are going to cover the August 2026 Muncie City Council meeting. I'm going to give you a recap of said meeting. I'm going to let you know what was going on. For those of you that were watching the meeting via the city's website or the city's YouTube page or our YouTube page, I will tell you I do have the missing 7 minutes of audio. I want to thank Deputy Clerk Lacey Jones for sending those to me. So we have the full meeting here for you guys. And I think that this is pretty much like an exclusive. I don't know that anywhere else has put this out here. So you're going to get to hear the full 7 minutes that occurred. It's not a whole lot. I mean, if you watch the meeting, you got the majority of it with audio. But there were 7 minutes that were missing. I don't know if it's just something in the air. I don't know if something's going on. I'll be honest, like last night when I was sitting there trying to get the internet to work in 2026, I was like, what is going on? This is the way they get us, you know? How do I come to you guys and bring you information if the broadcasting is shut completely off because we can't get out anywhere? Hell, I can't get out in the city of Muncie building, which I've never had an issue. And then that was laggy. And then on top of it, they muted the audio. And so when that happened, I can honestly say I'm thankful that I was sitting in the Muncie City building because I was in that building and because there is a court attached to the building, I am unable to carry my firearms into the building because the audio and everything was going on the internet. I don't know. I might have just checked out because I was so frustrated. And so I was instantly in a bad mood. I'm obviously joking. I was instantly in a bad mood when the meeting started. And then hearing that there was no audio, that they forgot to turn the audio on, it's just like, what are you guys doing? You know what I mean? So I started from a bad place. So what we're going to do is I'm going to walk you through the meeting, and it's about a 3-hour meeting. Now, we're not going to recap all 3 hours. We're going to recap the main parts. If you are interested, if you did not watch last night's meeting, I would highly recommend you going back and watching it. When I get off of tonight's episode, I am going to go and make my version of the meeting a little bit better. I'm going to clip out the minor space, and I'm going to make it to where it's more viewable. So if you have not watched the meeting, or if you got upset and you logged out, I would highly recommend going back and watching the meeting. Every meeting, there's always important topics on the agenda. Every meeting. Every meeting, there are important topics on the agenda. But generally, what happens is there will be one, maybe two ordinances or resolutions or something that is of serious importance. Okay. And then everything else is like filler and fluff or things like that. Or not really filler or fluff. That's a bad way of saying it. There are things that, maybe a small grouping of people care about, but it doesn't have the major impact that some of the big stuff have. You know what I mean? Thank you, MLM. We love you here. Your 3 comments and all. But about once every so many months, there's a meeting that occurs where like every item on the agenda is important. And last night's meeting was the most recent example of this. Literally every topic on this agenda was of importance. And then there were even topics that were not on the agenda that people in the know, people who stay involved, were hoping would be brought up. And those topics were the vetoed Ordinance 1326. We're going to talk about that. That did not appear on the agenda, but that's that. Okay. And then that was not on the agenda, but we hoped that would get brought up. And then, of course, the industry community center, that was not on the agenda for last night's meeting. But of course, there were many, many people there and people watching at home that were hoping that would be brought up. And I will tell you, I was absolutely gamer daughter, I would love for you to send me that email, but I'm aware of what occurred. I have sources. Listen, so I know we have new people that are watching because it always happens. So there are new people that are watching because of the McKinley neighborhood situation. And then there are new people that are watching or will watch because people like drama. And so those two things, okay? There is not ever anything that goes on in Muncie that I am not aware of about the minute that it goes down. And I'm not saying that being cocky. I'm just saying that to say that I have sources and moles and rats and birds and spiders and monkeys and spider monkeys everywhere. And I appreciate everyone who sends me information. Yes, please send me the email. But yeah, I was aware. I had heard from several different sources. I had been talking with various people from the city, people in the developers' corners, people in connection to stakeholders in the neighborhood, all throughout the weekend, and then going into the meeting. Matter of fact, having conversations with folks as I was pulling into City Hall last night. So, yes, thank you, Game Daughter. I appreciate that. So we're going to talk about that. But I was very happy about the amount of people that showed up. So, it was a large meeting, and Karen, you were asking questions about Terry. We're going to get into all of that. I promise I will. I promise you that I will cover that and explain who he is and what his issue is, and everything that went on there as well. So we're just going to start at the beginning and roll down. And to do that, I'm going to click play on this audio, and we're going to listen to the start of the public hearing. And the public hearing started at 6:45, p.m. yesterday. And the public hearing covered Ordinance 926, an ordinance of the City of Muncie, Indiana, approving matters related to the lease, financing of fire station project. So this is the fire department situation. And I want to set some parameters so people are aware before we start. So Indiana is a strange state with how public meetings are ran. Technically, under this is a catch-22 scenario. Technically, under Indiana law, city council, county commissioners, other public meetings, the state legislature, when they hold public meetings and we are allowed to be there as citizens, technically under state law, we don't have specifically the ability or the quote unquote, the rules or the, I'm going to use right here like this, to speak. The council, either being a county council or a city council or town council or commissioners or whatever, school board, library board, MRC, Board of Works, they technically do not have to offer a public comment portion. Okay. The reason I call this a catch-22 is they don't have to offer that. However, because, and this is my belief as a First Amendment, okay, freedom of speech, freedom of press, freedom of religion, freedom of assembly, okay, because of that, freedom of religion, did I say all five of them? Freedom of speech, press, assembly, freedom of speech, freedom of press, freedom of religion, freedom of assembly, and redress. I consider that the same thing as speech. That redressing the government. So it's all the same thing. All right. Anyways, so those are the 5 tenets. As a First Amendment purist, I look at it a little bit differently, and I say that because these meetings, all of the ones that I've mentioned, and many that I haven't, are occurring with either publicly elected or publicly appointed officials, city councilors, county commissioners, state representatives, Board of Works members, Muncie Redevelopment Commission members, whatever, Plan Commission members, whatever. Because these are elected or appointed officials, public servants, because the meeting is open to the public, because it's happening in a public venue, and because it's the business of the public, it's my belief that my freedom of speech allows me to speak, whether you like that or not. Okay? And I want to be very clear. I have been speaking in a meeting November 27th of 2017. I stood up and I told the Winchester City Council that they were a joke and that they were the ones that were out of order. They kept calling various citizens out of order. I said, you guys are the ones that are out of order. And because I said those words, I was arrested. I was slammed into the wall. My arms were twisted behind my back. I was put into handcuffs, like I've got right up over here. And I was taken to jail in the Randolph County Jail for disorderly conduct. Okay. The prosecutor's office declined to file charges because it was an unlawful and unjust arrest. And those were the prosecutor's words. And because of that, a federal First Amendment rights lawsuit was filed, and it cost the city of Winchester dearly. And it has been it was a stepping point in why we are here. So I am fine in standing up for my right to speak, your rights to speak. And listen, I'll fight for Terry Moore's ability to get up and trash me if he so wants to. Okay. I don't like him. I'll tell him I don't like him. I'm clear about that. But I will fight for his right to speak the way that he wishes to speak. Okay. So it's a catch-22. Now, I do my very level best to not be disruptive. However, there are times when political theater needs to be leveled up a notch, and I'm not afraid of that. And so I don't like being loud. I don't like cursing in front of a mixed audience. You know, I have a bad mouth from time to time, and I try to work on that. But I do my level best to remain calm. I would like to remain calm. But what people have to understand, specifically people who are just coming into this, I didn't just come into this. You know, it's funny. I was talking to somebody, and I'm not going to out this person, but they said that they, in doing some research for city council stuff, they had been going back and looking at minutes over the last many years. And they said, like, you're in every one of these minutes. You're like on every page talking about, you know, the topic at hand. I've been doing this for quite some time. You know what I mean? And so it is what it is. But I would prefer to do it politely. But when they kick me in the teeth repeatedly, I meant what I said last night. Jeff Green has disrespected me in a way that he would more than likely not disrespect any other person, because his higher-ups, his handlers, the people that control him, meaning Mayor Dan Ridenour, meaning Tim Overton, the chairman of the Republican Party, they don't like me because I ask questions and because I'm right, okay? And so because of that, he feels emboldened, along with Dale Basham and others, to disrespect me. And I've taken that disrespect. All I'm going to take it. I've taken it, and I've begged them. I've pleaded with them. I've talked nice. I've talked mean. I've been everywhere in between. And we're now to the point that if all they've got to do is, they don't have to like me, and they don't have to show me a mountain of respect. I just am asking for a baseline level of human respect. That's all. Okay? They can hate me. I'm fine with them hating me. But they will give me a baseline level of respect, or I will make their elected public life hell, as is my constitutional right to do so. Okay? So going into these meetings that we normally don't have a right to speak, I want to be very clear. For everything that Muncie has done wrong for years and years, one of the things that they have done well have been their meetings, okay? The Muncie City Council meetings have basically ran the same way for years and years. A meeting starts, and it's a regular meeting, and they go through the pledge, the invocation, citizen recognition, roll call, approval of the minutes, appointments to boards and commissions, committee reports, and then they go into ordinances previously introduced. And when they read through the first ordinance, they read through it, they allow the people connected to the ordinance to get up and talk about it. And then at the end of that, they say, is there anyone in the audience who has anything that they would like to say? And they allow those people to come up. They have never said you only have a certain amount of time. They've never said you have 3 minutes. Because what they're talking about is ordinances. It's the quote-unquote laws that they're voting on that's going to be making up the the laws and the rules that these citizens follow. So it's important for them to hear from people. And maybe it's important for them to hear longer than 3 minutes or 2 minutes or whatever. Some citizens might need to get out 5 minutes of topic, 7 minutes of topic, or, those things happen. They've never cut off people from speaking. They've just never done that. Okay. Then they vote, and then they go down to the next ordinance and they do the same thing. Then they go to new ordinances. They read the ordinance and they do the same thing. They go to resolutions and they treat that the same way. Then they go to other business, and in other business, they then do public comments. And in the public comment section, you can do it one of two ways. If you get to the meeting beforehand and you want to speak first, or you want to hold your place in line, you can take a pen and you can sign your name, and that holds your place in line. And they call you and they tell you you have 3 minutes. Now, I don't agree with the 3 minute time limit. I can say what I need to say in 3 minutes. I've been doing this a long time. Some people cannot. Some people are nervous. Some people are scared. Okay. That being said, I understand that the business has to be done, and I'm a First Amendment purist in a lot of ways, but I am willing to compromise on some. I'm willing to compromise on some aspects. That's the reason why I am not willing to compromise on the things that I am unwilling to compromise on. I've already let you hold me to 3 minutes. That's all you get. Okay. So that's how these meetings have always went. That's the meeting. Okay. Number one. That's how these meetings have went for longer than any of these people have been on. Talking about public hearings. The public hearing is different. A public hearing is governed differently than a council meeting. And they cannot require anyone give their name. They cannot require you to sign up. They cannot put a time limit on it. And essentially, people can go and speak, and they cannot stop you. It is a public hearing, and it must be governed so that the citizens can speak and be heard on the matters that they're talking about, because they're generally talking about matters of high importance, tax dollars and things like that. Okay. Because I'm just going to kind of rant tonight and go through this. If there's any major comments or questions that you could star, and I will get to your questions and comments, but I'm just going to kind of roll through this, folks. So that's where we are. Hello, the realist. Thank you. So that's the situation. So we start off with the public hearing. Okay. So we're going to go and we're going to listen to this now, and we'll start there, and we'll see what happens. Let me get this thing started.
Good evening. My name's Rob Miller. I'm here to still state my opposition to this as written, but I do think it's important to say our firefighters deserve a safe and functional fire department. I don't think anyone is disagreeing there, but I don't know that we need to build the largest, most expensive fire, and it's not clear to me that $1.5 million city's proposing borrowing, so that we need to build the largest, most expensive, safe and functional fire.
Here it goes.
Good evening. My name's Rob Miller. I'm here to still state my opposition to this as written, but I do think it's important to say our firefighters deserve a safe and functional fire department. I don't think anyone is disagreeing there, but I don't know that we need to build the largest, most expensive fire station that money can buy, and that seems like what we're doing. The city's proposing borrowing $11.5 million, and it's not clear to me that that's justified. Another thing that I noticed, and I wanted to bring this up, and I think everyone knows this, but it was news to me. So one of the reasons they stated for having to build this vertical fire department is they don't have space, but it's surrounded on 3 sides by Ball State. I really would like to know if the city approached the university about a land swap, about, access of, anything. Could we expand out onto that property and build a single level building that's not as expensive? And then I just want to point out that, we're facing a pretty dire fiscal situation in 2 years. We know we lost $1.5 million this year. The county has released some numbers. They're expected to lose another $6 million by 26. Our numbers won't. Our numbers aren't going to be far behind that. It's going to be some fraction of that, but another, couple $1 million of the budget, and then the next 2 years later, another couple $1 million of the budget. And my concern is, at some point, the lit may be entirely consumed by these projects, and there are property tax caps that stop you from raising money that way. What if the city has another emergency in the next 20 years? Like, where's that money going to come from? So, I think that council really needs to try to kick this back and ask them to sharpen their pencil, but, we'll see.
Anyone else wishing to speak?
Yeah, Terry Moore. I want to speak in favor of this ordinance. The committee members that met last month, I don't know whether all of you are aware or not.
Now, all right, I want to stop here because we've had a lot of people asking, who's Terry Moore? Terry Moore is a retired Muncie City fireman. Okay. He served on the fire department, and am I lagging? Can you hear me, or you just can't see me? Neither one. Okay. So, Terry Moore was a Muncie fireman, and he has pushed for basically everything that has been fire related, and it's never done in a fiscal or responsible way. It's always give, and it's wild because his wife who passed away, and I'm sorry for that, and I'm sorry for his loss, and I hate that she dealt with she had cancer, and I hate that. And even though I argued with him and her, I never wanted anything like that to happen. And so I apologize that happened to him, but, it happens to the best of us. That being said, it's not going to stop me from saying if he's right or wrong. And I do not like this give me attitude. And I have a real problem with that. So that's who Terry Moore is. He doesn't come to meetings. He's not there for the betterment of Muncie. He's not, he doesn't, none of this affects him. He's just there because he's, look, and maybe he's just fighting for his team, whatever, but he's just there to get as much as he can for the fire department. It's not about the betterment for the city. All right, we'll continue on with the recording.
But at that last meeting, number 5 fire station didn't have any water. So the guys in that station's over 60 years old. A lot of times they have to pump the pit out so they can even flush the toilets or anything. It's time that we replace. The last time the city went cheap on a fire station, if any of you have been in number 7 fire station, that's what you get when you go cheap. That's a joke of a station. There's the locker room's about 5 feet wide by 4 feet. For 9 guys. Now there's more. There's 18. Let's see. There's 6 on the or 5 on each turn. So there's There's more than that now because they got an ambulance in there. These guys deserve a station that they can work in and live in. They're in there 24 hours a day. They're away from their families. It's time the city didn't go cheap. I understand it's expensive, but let's pass this ordinance.
You know, what the city's done for the last several years, instead of doing this, they've just been continuously giving firemen raises and raises and raises and raises and raises. Maybe if they wouldn't have been doing this, okay, maybe they could have been saving up and repairing these buildings along the way. All right, continue on. Now, I want to say, when I went in to speak on this last night, I prepared a statement for this specifically, okay? And when I prepared this statement, this is what I had to read. This, down to the bottom, and then the top of the half. So I had a page and a half. A page and a half. Okay? So this, without interruption, should have taken me about 4 minutes. That's not unreasonable. I wasn't there for 10 minutes. I wasn't there for 15. I had a page and a half to talk about during the public hearing on 9/26. Okay? Let's listen how this goes.
Number one, there's no sound on the city's live stream, so just FYI, there's no audio.
So I brought that to their attention when I first walked up. There's no audio. And it took them another 4 minutes to figure that out. All right?
Tonight, the council is considering Ordinance 926 and Resolutions 1026 and 1126, all related to the proposed construction project, which would see the city build a new fire station on Tillerton on the same piece of land where the current Station 5 sits. And as it's been said, everybody knows that something is needed, but I'm really concerned that we are not looking at this trying to be fiscally responsible. This, of course, is a very substantial expenditure of money. Therefore, a very substantial questions need to be asked, and very substantial answers need to be given to you guys and to the public. I would think what would be greatly appreciated by the mayor, being a fiscal conservative, would be that we would try to approach this in a fiscal manner. Before the council moves forward, I have a few basic questions. Obviously the administration's here tonight, the mayor's here. Is the administration, through the mayor or others, prepared to answer the questions that you guys were not able to get answered at the 2 meetings that you guys had? Because there were several questions that went unanswered. Is the controller here? Is the controller prepared to bring the documents? There were several questions that he stated, well, I don't have those documents. And this is something that happens too many times when we're coming to discuss very important topics. We're leaving important documents upstairs. I don't know if he's here. I haven't looked around. If he is here, I hope he's prepared to bring that information forward. If he doesn't have it, I hope you guys are prepared to recess until he can walk upstairs and get it. At previous meetings, the controller answering those questions or others not being able to answer those questions because they're not here it's no longer acceptable. The 9 members of the council have a serious obligation to the citizens of Muncie. You have a serious obligation to the firemen as well. I understand this. The obligation, however, is not simply to process legislation presented to you. It's to ask questions, demand complete answers, review supporting documentation, and fully understand what you're voting on. I don't understand how any council members could recommend moving this project forward with the significant questions that still remained at the end of the Public Services Committee, and 2 of you did just that. That makes no sense. There were too many questions that remained unanswered. That would lead us to believe that you are voting in a way in which you're not having all the information. Unanswered questions are not good. There's never a problem with getting the answer to too many questions. You're never going to have too many answers. That's a good thing.
Thank you for.
Okay, that's where it cuts off, and we're now going to jump over to the city's to the audio, to the video and audio, and we're gonna watch what happens here, and you'll be able to watch and see what happens at this point. So bear with me really quickly as I get ready to bring this up. We leave that behind, and we're going to now get to see the rest of it live and action packed with everything up on the screen here. Let me pull up here the right time. 7:12. Okay. Absolutely. I feel bad for them. I just fully believe that we can do it. I would like to take this same amount of money, and I would like to buy them. I would like to build 3 stations for the price that we're building 1 for. Other municipalities are doing just that. We're just spending way too much money on this. That's my problem. Okay, here we go.
Problem with the answer to too many questions. You're never going to have too many answers. That's a good thing.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Bilbrey.
This is a public hearing, and you cannot stop me. You cannot stop it in a public hearing. I have another 3 sentences, but you cannot stop at a public hearing. That would be a major violation. This is a public hearing.
Legal counsel, is that true?
And here's the thing. Here's the thing. This absolutely floors me. Jeff Green and I have been round and round and round about these topics and more for the years he's been on the council, and he still can't just make a decision on his own. He still can't say, you know what, I'm not going to attempt to shut citizens down. I'm not going to attempt to not have the council hear what these people are saying. He could just say, I'm sorry, I'm going to let you speak, my apologies. But instead he turns to his legal counsel, and his legal counsel says the following.
In a public hearing, he does have the right to speak.
Yes, sir. Okay, go.
In a public hearing, he does have the right to speak. You know, my question is, how many times do I need to be right? How many more times do I need to be right for these idiots to stop treating me like I'm wrong? I'm not wrong. Very rarely am I wrong. And when or if I am, I call myself out on it before other people do. We'll continue on. So Brandon Murphy said what Brandon Murphy said, and I appreciate that. I have different feelings about different thoughts about what went on last night at different points. We'll get into that, but we'll back up here and we'll start here.
In a public hearing, he does have the right to speak.
Yes, sir. Okay, going forward, whenever a council member asks the administration for important information and the response is, I didn't bring it, or the response is nothing because they're not here, or it's upstairs, the council should say, go get it. We'll recess and we'll be able to respond, or we'll be able to vote when we have the full answers. If the administration cannot or will not provide the requested information, the council has an obligation to table the matter or to vote the matter down. The public deserves transparency, which you obviously have a problem with. The council deserves complete answers, which I don't understand why you guys don't understand that. But more importantly, the public deserves those complete answers. Thank you very much.
Anyone else wishing to speak on ordinance 9-26?
Thank you, crowd.
Hi, everybody.
Who's this person?
My name's Karen Brubaker-Buss. It's the first time I've ever come up and done anything like this, so I'm a little nervous. I've been coming and attending the last few meetings, and I've heard a lot about the fire station. And I do have a lot of questions that don't seem to be getting answered that other people have asked that I wonder about myself.
Karen did a
things
fantastic
like
job.
the lease finance agreement and how that works. And is it a lease finance agreement or is it a bot agreement, which they seem to be two different things. And I'm not clear on which one you're going with. The amount of money, $11.5 million. I would like a couple of other people see that number go down. It seems like Muncie is not in a position to spend that kind of money. And it looks like the way it's being done is because there's no other avenue for Muncie to have the money to build another fire station. So I would just ask that you take more consideration and try to do a little more with getting the cost down.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else
Yes.
wishing to speak on ordinance?
She did
9-26?
great. Thank you for coming and speaking, Karen. You did fantastic.
Rick Answer, newsman and author. From what I heard, we need to put a few things in context. Number one, we have the right to speak, absolutely, in the Constitution of the United States. Number two, this government's already being investigated by the state for breaking open records law, and I would hope that it would not get another investigation for breaking open meetings law. And as far as the context here with what we're talking about, you're not spending our money, you're indebting us for the next 22 years to the tune of, let's see, almost 16 million plus interest. And that doesn't include the 12 million plus interest on the last station. I think others have said to you.
And then that just cut off for whatever reason. We didn't get the rest of what Rick was saying. Absolutely nuts. Okay. Just totally crazy. So it's an absolute shit show. So, okay. Now they mill around for a little bit. The meeting gets started. I am going to say, Councilor Basham did the citizen recognition. And he did a great job.
Family with his wife, Brandy, navigated the treacherous waters of high school leadership, foiled a home break-in, survived serious health issues, and has earned the respect of his students, their parents, his colleagues, and members of our community, including me. We owe him a debt of gratitude. For all these years, he has helped to keep Muncie Central High School a safe place for students to learn, for teachers to guide, and administrators to lead. It's such a pleasure to honor a real-life hero as the Muncie City Council Citizen of August 2026, Justin Oliver.
Okay. Justin Oliver went to Delta, good Delta kid. I appreciate this. So, that's cool. All right. We're going to go past this. We get past the citizen recognition. We go into the roll call. They go through the approval of minutes. They go through the appointments of boards. We get down to the committee reports. Okay, that's where we're gonna stop next.
I can honestly say I bleed purple. You can
from last month's minutes, if I may.
We haven't seen it.
Without risking losing the resolution of
this is
to recommend any location.
Second.
Yes.
This is important. Did they pause? What's happening?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. On to boards and commissions. We haven't this evening. Committee reports then.
Mr. President. Yes. I have a new Sitter Committee report. To the citizens of Muncie and the members of the Common Council, I am writing in response to the mayor's July 28th community update. The update states that the committee voted to recommend the Industry United Methodist Church as a location for the future community center. However, to my understanding, no formal motion was made, no vote was called, and no recorded vote was taken to recommend any location. If that understanding is correct, the public record should be corrected to accurately reflect what occurred. Transparency means more than holding open meetings. It requires that what is communicated publicly matches what actually took place. Residents deserve factual and truthful reporting, especially when public resources and long-awaited community projects are involved. I respectfully request that the administration review the July 28 update and issue a retraction. I am requesting clarification on how the information in the July update was obtained. If no formal motion or recorded vote occurred, what documentation supports the claim made in the update? Transparency requires that official communications are grounded in the actual public record. I respectfully ask for the basis of that statement. Also, the mayor mentioned the resolution 15-25 that Council Mason and myself co-authored, saying that the council appointed the 5 neighborhood association to a committee without stating the fact. 2 amendments were added to the resolution without risking losing the resolution of all. We together had to go ahead and vote yes for the amendment of the resolution. The council voted 9-0, putting the youth center in industry neighborhood, which seems to me that manipulated wording to get around that. In our committee meeting on July 27, 2026 at the Mock Street Church, at the July 23rd Industry Neighborhood Association meeting, I said that the mayor needs to stand by his promise and do right by the Industry Neighborhood Association by giving them the $500,000, or at least give them the old park building and he can park for $1, since that seems to be the going price now. This way, he can go down as the mayor who did good on the city's promise of 20+ years to replace the Madison Street Multi-Use Center. The statement he made in his community update. And the United Methodist Church on Mock Avenue is not an industry neighborhood. In the May meeting, the committee was told the $500,000 stays at the Mock Street Church. That puts this committee in a bad position. Offer you can't refuse, so to speak. If the committee pushed for the center to be an industry, the neighborhood would be at risk of losing the funding. Oh, by the way, I am a member of the Industry Neighborhood Association because I pay my dues. Leslie McCory, you saw the writing on the wall. Mr. Mason, do you want an opportunity to speak on that since both our names was in that update?
Yes, thank you, Bill. The mayor's July 28th community update raises questions about how information was developed and verified.
Before we hear from Mason, I want to just be clear about what we're talking about here. The problem, listen, we can debate things. We can debate whether it should go at Mock or not go at Mock. It shouldn't go in the church at Mock. Let's just be very clear. The community center for industry neighborhood should not go in the abandoned church on Mock. Okay. The reason being is Mock is not in industry neighborhood. That's it. There's so many things that could be easy if these idiots would just apply common sense. And when I say, I don't mean the counselors, I mean Dan Ridenhour, the mayor. Okay. There's so many things that could be done so much easier with common sense. But right now, that's not even what we're talking about. Right now, we're talking about the fact that the mayor of Muncie got one of his minions, his secretary, the communications director, his gopher. They're all the same person, okay? Whichever one it was that day. And they held a phone out in front of him and they recorded him saying, last night at the community committee, they took a vote and it passed by a 4-1 vote. And everything is hunky-dory and we love it and everything's so wonderful. And he pushes that out to the public. And his adoring fans say, oh my God, look what he's done. Look what he's done for the coloreds. Or whatever it is they're saying, whatever bullshit it is they're saying. All right. That's what his people are saying. Boy, it's look what he's given them. It's amazing. What we're talking about right now is the fact that he lied, that did not happen. That's the biggest issue. If we can't trust the words coming out of the man's mouth, we've got bigger issues than the kids or the fire department or who's on what boards. If we just simply can't trust, there's all kinds of things going on right now based on words and promises that the mayor's given. And if he simply can't be trusted to explain truthfully what occurred in an important meeting, then we've really got to wonder what we can trust him to say. Like Kate said, Dan has long since lost being given the benefit of the doubt on anything. That's what we're discussing. Have you noticed that nobody say or stood up about the homeless in this town? So what's that say about it? Listen, here, you're right. Let me tell you something. If we are waiting for any of these people to stand up for anything for real, no one hold your breath. Let me tell you, we'll all be dead. We will all be dead. So don't wait for any of that. Great question. It's been empty for several years. I have no clue if it's up to code or not. It was given to us in one of the financial guru type deal we made when we spent millions of dollars on the crisis center and then chucked that out. Okay, well, it got Dan through one re-election. We're done with that now. Okay, so I mean, the mayor. He cannot be trusted. That's a serious problem.
Well, did you see what they posted on the city's page today?
Yeah.
About some kind of thing to help the homeless?
Yeah. And I had never heard a thing about that. I knew nothing about it.
How much money did that cost? And I get they said it's being paid with some kind of tax money, whatever. Is this going to be another crisis center?
Yeah.
Where we've opened it to help people, but we
Yeah.
don't have a plan to fund it.
Yep.
Which is what we're saying about the crisis center from the get-go.
Yeah, the crisis center and literally every other plan that Dan has half-assed.
Right.
Yeah.
So we've got this new thing they're building to help people that I don't know that they have a plan to fund it. And we've got a church that could end up being like the building at the crisis center where we go in, we get it as is, and we go in and discover $60,000 in that, it has termites, or it has a cracked foundation. We have to tear it down and start over.
Yes.
He does not get the benefit of the doubt on anything anymore. I just assume that what comes out of his mouth is not entirely factual.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Yes, Wayne. If he wants to give that church building to Southside Neighborhood Association, that's fine. But he promised a center in an industry neighborhood, and he needs to fulfill that promise first, period. End of story. End of story. Okay? I agree. Let's continue on.
I was at that meeting. There was no formal motion or recorded vote on deciding where a location would be. And I would like for the mayor, if he would, to cite the minutes or official records supporting your enthusiastic community update.
MLM. And look, there's a second sitting city councilor. So let me explain this to you, folks. For everybody saying, look at Bilbrey being mean to him. Look what Dan's done. Dan came out and said this nonsense. about a meeting he didn't even attend. Okay. Then Wayne Scaife came out and put him on blast, rightfully so. Came out and said, that is not what happened. This is not what happened. I'm calling this out. This did not happen. Kristopher Bilbrey. I sent him an email the very next day. And I said, can you explain what is going on with this situation? Yeah, give me a second. All right. So test 1, 2, 3, 4. Can you hear me? Is it better? Still bad? Okay, she's telling me it's still kind of wonky. Give me a second. All right, I'm going to try something really quickly, Kate, and I want to see if something happens. I might disappear 1 second. If I do, just stay there, and I'll be right back, folks. I'm going to try something. Okay, am I here? Can you hear me? Can you see me? Okay. I'm checking something out here really quickly. Well, looks like I'll be calling the guy back tomorrow. And we'll be going with plan. All right, the sound seems better now. It seems like I'm coming back in. Okay. Okay. All right. We'll rock and roll with what we got and see what happens here. I apologize. Just keep me posted if I go glitchy or let me know. And we'll see what happens. Okay. So let me look and see in my mind where we were. This is why this stuff is so frustrating. So, yeah. Did the mayor stand up and come to the podium to answer any of this? And the answer is no. No, he did not. He absolutely did not come to the podium and answer any of this. Complete nonsense. He was there. His ass sat back in the back behind me. He could have been there answering this all along, but he didn't come because he's too afraid. All right? On we march.
Any other comments on the committee report?
I'm done. I needed to set the record straight because I know there wasn't no vote taken, and I am a member of the Industry Neighborhood Association. Okay. We need to have that center in industry as this whole council, 9-0 vote suggested. That's all I got to say on this.
Any other comments on the committee report?
I'm sorry.
Any other committee report? Yeah, Mr. Dishman?
Yes. On July 22nd, we had a public service meeting about the new fire station, and we had some questions. We started out with the first meeting, then we had to do that second meetings. So Ms. Bellion was the first one on the first meeting to talk, so I let Mr. Green be the first this time to talk. And he asked questions about the financial stuff of the firehouse and a few other questions about the financials. And then we went to.
So we're off of industry for a minute. Now we're on to the committee report about the Muncie Fire Department, about Ordinance 926. And this is Jerry Dishman, and I can't tell you what in the hell he is doing here. He's simply just reading. Then I turned to Green, and Green looked at me, and his eyes got big. And I said, "Do you want to ask a question?" And he said, "No, I don't want to ask a question." And then I turned my head to the right, and I looked Sarah up and down, and I said, "Sarah, do you want to ask a question?" And Sarah said, "I surely do. I don't trust Ball State." Wait a minute, Jerry. When did she say she didn't trust Ball State? She didn't say she didn't trust Ball State. She asked if we can trust a letter. We can't trust the mayor. Why should we be able to trust the mayor's friends? It's not a problem with Ball State. It's a problem of trusting the mayor.
Ms. Saragolian, she had concerns about the Ball State money. Said we needed a contract with them. That we shouldn't trust Ball State or something like that. And I showed her a letter that Ball State wrote Mr. Merms pledging $1.5 million. Then she went on to ask about questions about how many people is going to be in this new fire station. And I think Chief Riffer said 8 to 10 people. And she wanted to know why so many.
Yeah, right.
He told her that we have EMTs are going to be in that building, and we're going to have some ambulances and some training done out of that building.
I'll be honest. I'm gonna say this. I've tried against my better judgment to remain friendly and polite and calm with Jerry out of a respect for my deceased grandmother, my grandmother Claudette King, my mom's mother, because of their friendship and because I've known him for a very long time. But I will be honest. I just have to question what kind of a man Jerry Dishman is. Not much of a man at all. What kind of a man is Brandon Garrett? Not much of a man at all. How can these two ass clowns sit on that dais, Jerry, for years, 16 years, and give every Republican, I'm a constitutional conservative. I'm not a Democrat. Okay? I am not a Democrat. I'm not a liberal. I'm not a progressive. But Jerry has given shit to every Republican mayor that we've had since the beginning of time, since he's been on the council. And then last summer, this Blue Dog Factory, Muncie, Shedtown, Newcastle, Southern cross the tracks Democrat all of a sudden says, "I'm not a Democrat anymore. I'm no longer a Democrat. The Democrat Party, they're letting men wear dresses over there, and I just don't think I can do that. I can't. I just don't know. I don't know about men wearing dresses and dresses wearing men, and I'm not part of that no more." So he essentially becomes a trans Republican. He doesn't like that the Democrat Party has linked up with this trans movement. And so if you can't beat them, join them. Jerry, who in June of 2025 was a Democrat he had been all his life, wakes up one morning and looks in the mirror, and now he feels like a Republican. So he's a trans Republican. And the same goes for Brandon Garrett. And since that beautiful day that they came out of the closet that they were in and announced to the world that they are now Republicans, they got their picture with Gomer Pyle and all. They have voted every piece of legislation through that Dan has wanted, Any vote that he has wanted a no vote on, being no vote. Any vote that he's needed a yes vote, being yes vote. I've heard that neither one of these individuals are running for re-election. That doesn't make any bit of sense. Like, if they were going to run for re-election for the next 10 years, maybe they're like, I got to get out of this Democrat ticket. I'm going to be on the Republican side now. You know, I'm a winner. I can feel it, you know? But they're not running again. So all they did was switch parties, ruin like themselves politically, to fall to their knees for Dan Ridenour. And straight on whatever Ridenour wants, however we can service him, straightforward we go.
I think you have the wrong analogy. I don't think
Yeah.
they fell to their knees before him. That implies they want something from him. I think they're turning around and bending over.
That's probably true.
That's probably the more appropriate
Yeah.
analogy. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's probably true. And yeah, he used to say things. Garrett did. But half the time, the things he said you couldn't trust. Sometimes they were. Sometimes he just wouldn't live up to it. But now it's all about Ridenour. And I just don't know it. I just don't get it.
I asked Chief Burford if it's going to be a 2-story and it's going to have stairway and the pole in the building, and he acknowleded yes. And I asked,
and he literally just reads through the minutes. So if you watch that meeting, that's all it is. I'm not listening to this. He voted to go ahead, even though they had questions remaining, and Green voted to go ahead with it because that's the whole reason Ridenour came back on July 15th, was because the ship was sinking, things were not getting done, and Ridenour had to come back early, and that's what happened there. Okay, so we'll move on from here.
which Jeff and I said yes, and Ms. Gulligan abstained, and I adjourned the meeting.
Okay.
Thank you for that report.
Thank you for that report.
Any other committee reports? Moving on, then. We're going to ask at this time too.
All right. Now this is so wild. This is so wild. That's exactly right, Liz. He says, we have been... That's right, Charlize. Jeff Green says, we have been asked to now... Listen to what he says here. I've never seen what's happening here happen. I've seen them adjourn a meeting and go into a public hearing, but this is such a weird deal and just proves they don't know what they're doing. He's reading this. He's reading what he's saying. Somebody's giving him these words to say. These are not things coming out of his brain.
A motion to suspend this meeting at this moment to go into a public hearing on Ordinance 8-26. Resolution, excuse me. Yes. Do I have one willing to make that motion?
I'll make that motion. I'll second that motion.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We'll suspend the meeting for a moment, go into public. Yes, Mr. Murphy.
Good evening, Council. I've had the opportunity to discuss Resolution 826 with the administration by their council. In exchange for assurances that the council will receive revised and thorough written responses from the Controller's Office to their previously submitted questions by October 16, 2026, a date chosen because of the upcoming budget season, there has been a proposal made to adjourn and postpone this public hearing to a date certain, a special meeting on November 16, 2026 at 7 p.m. in this room.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign.
So October 16th is when they're finally going to comply. And then November 16 is when the public hearing will be. Now, I fully believe that what they just did there, again, violated my rights because they went into a public hearing but did not allow me or anyone else to speak. And as we heard the attorney just say, they have to permit citizens to speak at public hearings. So there they violated all of our rights, anyone that was in attendance. And I have a problem with that. So this, ladies and gentlemen, is Resolution 8-26. Okay? And I knew that this was going to be talked about at some time. I assumed that what they would do is they would call it up and they would go back and forth, but they don't want to hear what I've got to say about this because very much like Ordinance 926, I brought a piece of paper with a little narrative on here that I wanted to read to them. And I'm going to read this now, and I'll probably create a different thing and read this to them similar in a different time. But I'm going to read this to you now. This is what I would have read to them yesterday had they allowed me to speak. Contact an attorney and talk about that and see if someone will do something about it. I mean, just continue to poke them and let them know what they're doing is bullshit and let them yell at me for using bullshit as a word and go back and forth, just nonsense, just absolutely nonsense. So here's the deal. Okay. Resolution 826. I'm asking you to take seriously not only Resolution 826, but also your institutional authority and responsibility as the legislative branch of this city government. Resolution 826 established a process for investigating the financial operations and the internal controls of the city controller's office. This was brought forward after 2 or more employees stole money and diverted money, taxpayer dollars, and other funds away from the city parks department over the course of 4 years, and we got slapped down by the State Board of Accounts. That's why this is needed. The controller's office was required under Resolution 826 to provide requested records to council members. Council members then were permitted to review those materials and submit questions and receive substantive answers about those questions. Jackie, I love it. Based on the information provided when I asked, the process has not been meaningfully completed. The original deadline for producing records was June 23rd. The controller did not respond until 3 days later on June 26th. So he already, in the very first point, right there in the very first point, he already missed the deadline. That was problem number 1. All right. Then, according to the administration's own release about this, much of what he finally provided simply directed the council members to publicly available State Board of Accounts documents and websites that any of the people in the audience, myself included, all the counselors could have already accessed. By a show of hands, how many of you submitted questions to the controller's office? And that's what I wanted the council to ask, because as far as I know at this moment, only Nora Powell did that. Now, I might be wrong. Maybe there's more because they won't answer emails. You know what I mean? But I sent out the email and Nora responded. So I'm aware that Nora did this. Okay? Before tonight, I had heard that Nora Powell had submitted those questions. However, I've also heard that several of her questions went unanswered. That meaningful information about Muncie's actual internal controls was not provided, and that the responses instead included a generic 77-page State Board of Accounts document on uniform internal control standards across the board. That is not the same thing as providing the Muncie-specific records and substantive answers necessary to complete this investigation. Resolution 826 is not merely ceremonial or advisorial like some resolutions are, because Indiana Code 364621 authorizes the legislative body to investigate city departments, officers, employees, and it grants access to public records pertaining to an investigation, and it permits the council to compel testimony and evidence through subpoena. If someone refuses to testify or produce evidence, the council may direct the clerk to present matters to the court, which may order compliance. But that's not it alone. That's Indiana Code. Muncie City Code 3208 reflects the same investigative authority locally. This legislative oversight, supported by state law and municipal code, has been screwed off on the entire process by the administration. Checks and balances mean very little if the legislative branch refuses to use the authority given to it. If the controller's office has fully complied, then that compliance should be demonstrated clearly, but it has not been. Document by document. It's been a farce. If records or answers remain outstanding, the council should publicly identify them, set a final deadline, and make clear what enforcement action will follow. If incomplete answers or withheld records continue, this council should invoke its subpoena authority and be prepared to seek judicial intervention to compel compliance. I am not asking you to prejudge the ultimate findings of the investigation. I am asking you to not surrender the investigation before necessary information has been obtained. Do not allow missed deadlines, generic documents, incomplete answers, or procedural momentum to replace meaningful oversight. First obtain the records, first obtain the answers, then conduct the hearing, then make the findings. And if voluntary compliance cannot be obtained, use the authority the law gives you. The people of Muncie are entitled to a legislative body that functions as an independent branch of the government, not one that asks questions, receives inadequate responses, and then quietly moves along. Resolution 826 must either be enforced or acknowledged as meaningless. That choice now belongs to this council. But they wouldn't let me read that, and we now have to wait until October 16th. Maybe the administration will play along, maybe they won't, and then we have to wait a full another month because now we're in the budget process. Well, we weren't 2 months ago. All right, moving on.
Okay, we're back to the
So that we will need a motion to resume the
motion to resume common meeting.
So moved. I'll second that.
Okay, we have a first and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay. So, ordinances previously introduced. Ordinance 9-26.
Okay.
We need to have a motion to bring this out of committee. So do I have a motion to bring this out of committee?
I so move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Selby? Yes.
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 That's right, Kate. Good question.
Okay. Ordinance 9, excuse me, dash 26. An ordinance of the City of Muncie, Indiana, approving matters related to lease financing a fire station project.
Have a motion to adopt ordinance 9-26.
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any questions from the council? Anyone in the audience?
Yeah.
Roll.
Go ahead.
Yes.
I want to bring up the 1.5 million again from Ball State. As Chair Dishman did mention, we did talk about this at the public services meeting. I'm still of the opinion that we could reduce the amount asked for from the 11.5 to the 10 million, because as he mentioned, we all do have a letter from Ball State telling us that they're giving us 1.5 million in a lump sum that will go directly to Station 5. So I would like for, I guess, the administration to talk about that. The controller didn't have specific information about that when I asked about it at the public services meeting. So maybe Mayor Ridenour would be able to answer exactly where that stands with Ball State.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
What's the, do you have a specific question or?
Yes. First of all, we've got a letter. Are you planning on a contract to sign a contract with Ball State?
We have, their board has already approved it. President Mearns has put in writing that they will pay that however we want. He says, you don't have to have it all up front if you don't want. We can use it to pay down debt. The thing about the 11.5, if we use the process that we've been working on, that maxes out the price. And so if there are savings, like there were on Station 6, if there are savings, then we get to capture those. So I don't want to necessarily borrow $10 million in upfront, because that may impact. The financial advisors may have different thoughts on that, but that's how it was explained to me. So I would personally not borrow. I'm a person who attempts to not borrow in my own life. And so I would borrow as little as possible. So I would personally use that 1.5 to immediately help fund the fire station so that we never draw on the whole 11.5. You don't pay interest on the 11.5 until you borrow on it, until you access it. So that would be my preference, but the council gets to pick. So if the council wants to do it, to borrow the whole 11.5 and use it as the first 2 years payments, I suppose you could. To me, it's better not to pay the interest, but that's just my personal opinion.
Stop this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So you don't pay back, you set up the 11.5 million, and you're not required to draw it all. So you only pay back, 10.8 million. So why are they talking about leftover money going to the fire department?
I don't understand. Yeah.
Does
This
that
has
make
not
sense?
made sense.
Am I confused?
Yeah. No, you
So
are
we
not.
end up drawing the whole thing anyway and giving
Yeah.
the extra money to the fire department?
Yeah, sounds like it. I mean,
Why
this
would
is
you
not.
do that?
Yeah, right. Because that's all we do in the city of Muncie. We give to the fire, we give to the police. And listen, no one's more pro police or fire than me. Terry, I wasn't a Muncie fireman. I was a cop. I don't have a problem with the police department or fire department.
And what loan on the planet says, well, you only took out 10 million in loans, so you can only actually spend 10 million? The 1.5 is like a down payment.
Yeah.
We're going to take out a $11.5 million loan with 1.5 million down, so we're only borrowing 10. What?
Yeah.
Nothing of what he says is making any sense as far as just common sense for how borrowing would work if they're talking about leftover money, but you only pay back what you draw out. What? Then there's no money left over.
Right.
I'm sorry. He confuses me. Again,
Yeah.
it's more stuff that's not factually accurate.
I know. I absolutely. Yeah, 100%. And like Wayne says here, it's in writing, just like the Hope 6 grant was in writing. It's no good if it's not a signed contract. It's no good till the money is in my hand. Until we have that money It's no good. I don't even care about a contract, I'll be honest with you. Because lawyers are created to break contracts. Put the money in my hand. And then, and look, I don't even trust it then. Because the city of Muncie had the money for the community center. And look what happened to that. So I don't even, don't trust these people, period.
I'm sorry, Jeff, if that's okay. It's not my.
Yes. So, but you say that, that we've got, then we'll have a cushion possibly. Okay. And we understand that that stays with us, but it only applies to the fire stations. So my concern is that's great for the fire stations. I totally understand why they would want that. I know that other fire stations also need help. I know 5 needs to be built. Period.
Double
5
speak,
needs to be built.
man.
The other stations also, we did that last time. We had some leftover from what was borrowed for 6, and they were able to make some improvements at other stations. That's great. And I appreciate that. That's a good way. That's a good way for them to do that. However, as the council, we don't only have one department that we have to look at. We have to look at, just like you do, multiple departments throughout the city. So I'm concerned with the cushion. I'm concerned with the transparency aspect of that. I feel like if they need something, at other stations,
don't be.
those should be brought to us.
You don't need
as
to
a station.
be.
So that's where I stand on that. Reduction.
You don't need to be, Sarah.
So, Mr. Mayor, what you're saying is that you want to borrow as little as possible. Then wouldn't you support amending to reduce the amount of Ordinance 9-26 to 10 million and only dealing with that, since we know that we have a lump sum of 1.5 million? Could you just explain why that is?
Yeah, would it be all right if I bring one of the experts up? Again, I'm relaying information that I have been told.
Well, and I'm just asking based on what you've said is that, you want to
great.
borrow as little
Are
as
you able to come
possible.
up with that?
We have 1.5 coming in.
Yeah, let's let someone who is an actual involved in that, we pay them to do this. Hardly pay him, he says.
Yeah.
I'm Bob Swins with the London Witty Group. And really what we're talking about is timing. We're asking for a not to exceed bond issue of $11.5 million. We have a fairly long process still to go, some more approvals, some wait periods. If during that time the money shows up in the bank and we can say to investors, we have all the money we need with you buying these bonds, we can reduce the bond issue. But if for some reason we fail to get that money in a timely manner, then we would really want to issue the full amount that we can to pay for the fire station. And then if we would get the 1.5 later, we
And
can use
there
it
it is.
for other fire station purposes. We can use it to pay down debt. Or
We might not get that 1.5 million, so we need to have it in writing that you're okay with us taking 11.5 in case that 1.5 doesn't show up. There it is.
And what I don't understand is, first of all, what in the bloody hell is going on with Amber's face back there? Holy crap. Up here in the left-hand corner. She is giving the shit stare to somebody. Ugh. Okay. Anyway. But yeah. He just said it out loud right there. Nobody else said anything after that. They didn't say, wait a minute. You just said what I've been concerned about. Nobody said that. No one said any of that. Very strange. Like, he finally answered the question everybody's been asking.
or whatever we need. But it's really kind of a timing. We're not saying we're going to definitely issue 11.5. This is not to exceed 11.5.
Follow-up question. So would you then advocate for paying down debt then with that 1.5?
I would.
Is there penalty for paying that debt down sooner?
Well, that wouldn't obviously be my decision. If that's what you and the administration decided we would do is pay down debt, we would try to work with the bankers to figure out a way that we could do that without penalty.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I know when I spoke at the public services meeting, I did ask the controller about the contract, but also about when he said, we don't know when we can get that. You just mentioned that again. Now the mayor just said that they said we can have it whenever and however. I guess we need an answer about that. Like when could we get this money from Ball
Letter states it pretty clearly. I'll just read it to you.
Yeah, well, we've got it here.
I know you, but I can read it so that the public has it.
Watch this.
I do have to find it, but I do have the letter from Ball State. They will do that upon.
I've got it here. I can read
Okay.
it. Provide a one-time lump sum payment of $1.5 million when you have confirmed that you have obtained the necessary approvals for the project and have executed a contract with a construction company. And then they say they also increase their annual payment to $300,000 when the project is complete and the aerial truck has been relocated to the new fire station.
Yep. So yes. So I think there's flexibility there, but here I don't know that, and I'm not a construction
No,
company.
there's not.
So I'm speaking
Yeah,
on what
the
my
money
belief would
won't
be,
come in until
but I
after the
don't know
loan
if the
process is done, because this is done after the contractor has been established and all that crap's done.
Yeah.
Loans
Right.
come first, then the contractor. You won't
Yeah.
have the money before the loan comes out,
Yeah.
period.
Right. Yeah. That's spot on. That's yeah. 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 Right. Absolutely, Wayne.
Construction company would be on board. There will be $0 until a construction company is on board, and all the final approvals from this council have occurred. Once there's a construction company, then there's an opportunity for us to decide where that 1.5 goes. I would tend to borrow the 11.5, but not access it. I've done many, many construction loans in my banking career, and you don't pay any interest if you don't access the funds. But if the council chooses to do it a different way and spend the 1.5 million on architecture and ground preparation, site work, and not access the full 11.5, that's fine too. But it's not something that can even be decided by Ball State or anybody at this point until there's a construction company and all the final approvals. You'll have plenty of opportunities, as Mr. Swint said, you'll have plenty of opportunities to help decide where this goes and when it goes. But it's, as you all agree, it is something that is necessary, and we hope that, that we'll be able to move this forward.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate it. Okay. Any other questions from council? Yes, oh, sorry.
Mr. President, following up on the question that Councilwoman Gullion asked in regards to that 1.5 then will give the fire department a cushion, and this has nothing really to do with your project. So we have $400,000 that was left over from Station 6 remodeling because even though it said up to a certain amount, we did up to that amount. And so we had that $400,000 left over to be used on other stations. And now we're saying that we could potentially have 1.5 million left over to put into other stations. And so that's almost $2 million that the fire department's budget has been increased or will have been increased for capital improvements, correct? And these are questions, I mean, I'm just looking for clarification. Yes, absolutely come up. And so
No, that is actually, and I appreciate your comments, Councilperson Powell, but no, there won't be 1.5 million left over because it costs 11.5 to build it. Originally, you had said, how about if we borrow 10 and use the 1.5? So
correct.
Yeah.
But if we don't, and there hasn't been a motion to amend to reduce it. So right now the 11.5 is still on the table.
Correct.
It's still, and
Correct.
so the 11.5 plus the 1.5 from Ball State. So that, I mean, because as of right now, we're not discussing 10 million, are we? Reducing to 10, and there's been no motion.
Yeah, the 1.5 is from Ball State to help pay for the start of the fires, to build the fire station. We're not planning on, there's no chance that is going to the fire department's budget. That's going toward this station.
Well, then the information that we received during some of those public service meetings are incorrect because
No, if the station gets built for 11.3 million, there's 200,000 left over. And then this council has the right, and I think they did it last time. This council has the right to tell the developer what happens with that 200,000. It comes back to the city. And so that could go to the, to other fire stations. So that could go to other uses along those lines.
so you're responding with the understanding that 1.5 coming from Ball State, and that's, I'm just not understand. It's not saying that that's not what's happening, but I just want to make sure that we're on the same page.
Sure.
You're saying that 11.5 that is still in Ordinance 9-26 goes towards the project. Then we still have this 1.5 that's coming in from Ball State for this project, correct? So that's $13 million for this project, but we're only saying it's up to 11.5 million. So we still have that 1.5 million, and we were told at the public service meeting that would go into other fire stations.
Well, what I will say is that the 1.5 is for Fire Station 5. Once we have a construction company and once we have all the approvals from this council, when this council chooses what they want and how they want to spend that 1.5, it has to be toward the fire station. Though that's what Ball State is spending it on.
Right, and
but we do not need to access the full. If you have, for example, let's say you have a MasterCard, you've got a credit card and it has a $3,000 credit limit. Well, that doesn't mean you owe $3,000.
Right.
If you use $1,000 to purchase something, you owe $1,000. I'm just saying we just won't access the full credit line. That's how I would handle it. The council gets to pick. But that's how I would handle it. I would end up doing less. But if it's a build, operate, transfer, and you don't do it at 11.5, if the costs go over,
so
we
how
could be
did they end up
we could be at
accessing the
risk.
extra
Correct. But what you're saying
$400,000
now
that were
contradicts
left
what
over
Chief
from the first one?
Burford said.
Oh, because that's how he would do it.
So I'm just curious which is correct.
So he said the 1.5 is not for this fire station?
He said that the 1.5 is for the fire station, but anything extra we have would be put towards other stations because they also need to be renovated.
Which I would agree with,
I agree
especially
with
number
you.
7, especially
I
station number 7.
absolutely
It
agree.
needs expanded dramatically. But I do not, as much as I would love for us to do this for $1 million or 400,000 or even 300,000 under budget, in this environment, it's not always easy to do.
Agreed.
I would say this council can tell, while this is being put together, how do you want to put that together in the end? If you want it if you want it to go toward fire stations, if you want it to, however you want it to do, I would prefer not to even access it. That would be my choice if I were on the council. I would say let's not access that 1.5. I would not do $13 million, and I wouldn't vote for that. I would hold the total price to 11.5 and know that 1.5 million is coming from Ball State.
And can pay
I
down
believe
that
at this
debt.
time, Chief Burford would like to speak.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good evening. Just a couple points of clarification, if you don't mind. During the Public Services Committee meeting, we spoke about the remainder of the money that was left from the construction of Station 6. There was over $500,000 there that we did not access from the bond. So that money was not used anywhere else. We would not be able to use that money anywhere else unless we came and asked you to appropriate it for another project. You appropriated that money specifically for Station 6. We've not used a penny of that money anywhere besides Station 6. Station 5 is the same way, and that's why I said when I came up here, it could potentially be used for other station projects, but it cannot automatically be used for other station projects. We would have to come in front of you and ask you to appropriate that money for additional station projects because you do still control those funds. So, and the letter that came from Ball State said they're willing to put forth $1.5 million for the station project once contracts are signed. And I believe the hard thing is going to be is get a contractor, developer to sign a contract unless we've clearly secured the $11.5 million in advance. So if the bond is approved for 11.5, now we have proven to them that we've secured the funds. If Ball State's funds then come in during the project, those funds can be used. You would have to appropriate that, but those funds can be used to go directly into that building fund so that we don't need to access the entire 11.5. So you could approve the maximum for 11.5, appropriate the funds for Station 5 from Ball State. None of those other funds can be appropriated beyond the amount unless we come forth and ask you for permission. So if you appropriate the money right after the contracts are signed, that 1.5 million comes off before we even start drawing money. Okay. And so with the contract that's being signed with Mr. Martz, if you agree, the whole project will not exceed 11.5. So when we hit that 11.5 stop, if we put the 1.5 up early into the game here, that's where it's going to stop. The remaining $1.5 million cannot be used for anything other than Station 5 unless you approve that. Okay? So I hope that clarifies that. But yeah, we didn't use any of the other money though, and nor could we without your permission.
All right.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Any other questions?
So but that 500 there is only for the fire.
Correct. It can only be used for fire department infrastructure projects. And it cannot be used for any infrastructure. Pardon me?
No, capital or infrastructure?
Well, it's you guys are approving for infrastructure projects. So it still cannot be used anywhere besides Station 6, and we didn't need it. So it sets that we couldn't use it unless we came and asked you to appropriate that money for a specific project.
Floating open loan, this open line of credit.
If I'm not going to come and ask for just a piece of money if I can't complete a project, I'm going to be honest with you. So we have some things we would like to do, and I would certainly be open for discussion. But when we come before you and make that request that appropriation, give you the plans, is what we're going to do with that before. Obviously, anything could be done. Okay.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Any other questions, council? Okay, we have a first and a second. Roll call, please. Public comment. I'm sorry.
Audie Barber. So I'm assuming that we, instead of 8.6 million, we've spent 8.55 million on Station 6 because they said we had 500,000 left over on it. They could apply it back towards the bot or just leave it in there for something happens at Station 6. The concerns I have is, do we really have the money for all these projects? We just got a brand new fire Station 6. I understand these guys need these stations updated. I understand that 100%. But if we don't have the money for it and it puts the city deeper and deeper in debt, then, that's going to be a big problem. Also on Station 6, some of the EMS money, I think it was 200,000 a year, 150, something like that, was supposed to be taken out of the EMS fund and applied each year towards that building. Is that something that's going to happen this time? Are they going to appropriate some money from the EMS fund to fund this building too?
Maybe you were dead.
And, I'd like to know more about it. So that's where I'm at on it. And like I said, if we ain't got the money, don't spend it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
I'm Smeckens, Muncie Voice. I can't argue with anything that's been said. I agree we need to update the fire station. My problem is the financial arrangements. First of all, the bond lawyers do not represent the people in this room. They represent the investors. So we got to make that clear. So when they talk at a public meeting, they're not answering, they're not protecting us, they're protecting the bond investors. So we got to be clear there. The other thing is Ball State. I did an APRA, a Freedom of Information Act request, and there's been no communication with the board's trustees on the million and 1.5 million. So you better get a commitment, not a letter that says we will do this. That is not a commitment. You need to get something on paper that's been approved by the board of trustees before you proceed on this, because all they've done so far, and I got all the letters that they sent to Ridenour, the mayor, and there's nothing in there about we've approved this with the board of trustees. It's just communications. This is what we're
now. Kate called me there for the first time in my broadcast time. I think I just fell asleep on you guys in live television. I have been up since like 5 o'clock this morning, and then everything happened last night. I am exhausted. But I have to tell you, I'm glad Kate called, and right for Todd Smeckens. We are watching this on like 1.5. And Todd Smeckens is generally pretty keyed up, but Todd Smeckens on 1.5 is great. But I have not approached this from this perspective at all. And I love this. I am going to submit some records to Ball State tomorrow, some record requests. I have not done that. That's a failing of mine. I should have done that. It's not that I don't trust him. I trust what Todd's saying. I believe what he's saying. I'll probably reach out to Todd and see if he would be willing to send me what he's got. If he would be willing to do that, that would be great. On top of that, I will reach out to Ball State and ask. But if what I'm saying, if what he's saying here is true, and I want to be very clear, I do not claim that it's not true. He's saying it. I believe him. But what we do here is, unless I know, unless it's something we found, I don't say it. What he's saying there, if that is in fact true, that is a big deal. And like Kate just said, it sounds like Dan is saying things that are not fully factual. And there's just too much of that. And this is too much of a big deal. So here we go.
We're going to do. And the other thing they said they were going to do was increase their payment to $300,000. It's already at $266,000. So they're only adding $34,000 a year for this brand new fire station, which to me is just, it blows my mind that they can have, it's in their backyard. I mean, they're the ones that need the ladder truck, them in the hospital, and neither one of them are paying shit as far as I'm concerned.
Please watch that.
Okay.
You what?
Please watch your language.
Oh, sure.
Okay. This is where, when I was sitting in this meeting, that by this point, I was done. That little thing blew my last stack. Okay. I looked around the council. There weren't a bunch of 6-year-olds here. This is adult stuff. Todd is a respectable person. Todd is not being inappropriate. He wasn't being rude. He was speaking, and I know that we're listening to it and it sounds fast, but Todd was speaking fast, and he said shit. You might not like it and you might not say it, but I don't need another grown man to listen to me. I'll be honest. I wouldn't even let my dad or my mother tell me at this point, language. Probably the only person that I would let do that would be my grandmother. My grandmother would have in my opinion, the right to tell me, and she does from time to time. She'll say, oh, you shouldn't use language like that or the whatever. And I respect her and I do that. And I don't talk like that in front of her. But as far as I'm concerned, you don't even begin to fall in the remote closest same category as someone who can tell me that I need to watch my language. And I find it offensive that you feel that you need to tell another grown person, man or woman, to watch their language. And so I can't deal with it. I know he's a preacher and I respect that, but this is not your pulpit, bro. Okay? And if you can't handle this, if you're not in the big boy world and dealing with this, okay, then you need to do something else. And that's a common theme that you're going to hear from this point forward. They need to do something else. They need to resign. They need to go away. They can't be salvaged as counselors, as elected officials. They're broken.
Also, manure, does that work? Okay. Just want to clarify. Also, we are not using $11.5 million to build this fire station. As soon as it's approved, $1.2 million disappears in closing cost. Bye-bye. So you're only dealing a little over 10 million. And the other thing is that part of the 1.2 million that goes in closing costs is $685,000 in capitalized interest, which means that is going to make the payments on the bond until June 2028. After the next election. It's kind of interesting that
what I notice is these two gentlemen that are here that are with the bond council. I don't notice these guys. You know what? If I was sitting next to Todd Smeckens and Todd Smeckens was saying a bunch of shit that wasn't true, a bunch of poopy, if he was saying a bunch of poopy that wasn't right, I'd probably be respectful, but I'd probably be sitting there shaking my head. I'd probably be saying, nope, that's not true. Nope, that's not right. You know what I mean? I don't see that happening. You know what I see them doing? I see them like feverishly looking through their paperwork and being like, well, God, how does this guy know all this?
Well, this capitalized interest that's being used to make payments until after the big election in 2028. And what concerns me is whoever comes in as the next mayor, they're going to see like 1.7 million, poof, like that right out of their edit account. So I was told that, the main reason for edit was to invest and bring in money. A fire station doesn't bring in any money. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Chief Murphy. Chief, you got one over here.
What did that guy mouth at the end there?
I don't know. It's very interesting. I saw he mouthed it to appeared to have mouthed it to Carl Malone, maybe. I'm going to back up and see here.
If anybody can read lips.
Yeah, now's the time. I'm very interested because I've seen that a couple times. I've watched this.
So I was told that, the main reason for edit was to invest and bring in money. A fire station doesn't bring in any money. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Chief Murphy. Chief.
Look, and again, it's just kind of looking at body language. That didn't look. Let me ask you, Kate. Do you think that was like to me, that didn't look like oh no, I don't agree with him. It looked kind of like well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I
he's
can't
got a
say.
point.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Like almost could have been the words. And we can't say that. I've got no idea. But they don't look like they're looking at him like he's an idiot. They look like they're kind of like amazed at what he's saying.
Invest and bring in money. A fire station doesn't bring in any money. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Chief Murphy. Chief, you got one over here.
Very interesting.
Mr. President, can I ask the chief a question or two? Chief, can you come up and just explain that the payment that Ball State is making, what they're paying right now also includes the lease payment for the aerial truck, correct?
Correct. They pay
So 167,000 of that, what they're currently paying, will cease once we pay off that truck. So is it 300,000 then for
the
beyond
300,000 goes up for beyond. So yes, they currently
it
pay
is a significant
150.
increase.
Yeah, they pay 150 for fire protection and they pay 116,000 for the aerial payment.
Correct.
Which comes off in 27.
Okay, and so it is a significant increase that they're doing.
Is he
given that payment
giving
is
us
going
code
away.
and
the aerial truck
blinks?
is housed where now?
It's housed at Station 2 right now.
Station 2 is in
In He Park.
Park. So the truck, and can you explain why the aerial truck is so important to get back to Station 5, which is in my district?
Well, obviously, it is our only actual platform truck. It is the only truck in the city that can actually be counted as an aerial for the ISO ratings for insurance. And it has to be housed in proximity to your tallest structures.
Right.
So
We
that
are-
is Station 5. And we had to move it because when we brought EMS in,
Mhm.
the EMS was several calls and you try to balance the service as best we can. And that's what we did when, the moves were made. So
And so, to clarification, follow up, the truck that would be most beneficial to fight fire at Ball Hospital and at several of the buildings on campus is across town.
that's correct.
Even though Ball State is paying the lease payment.
That is correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
And so that's.
And I think
a
that's why it's
problem.
important for them to have that back. And that's why they said
Absolutely.
once the station's done and that truck is back in-house at Station 5, that they would increase the payment because it does have that contingency on the increase of the money.
It does. And then just one thing.
Anybody else have a question?
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Sure.
Go ahead. Absolutely.
Okay, this one is actually more back to the mayor probably, but going back to this letter versus a contract and what was just mentioned about the trustee. If the mayor could come back up, please.
Now, this is very important. This is very important.
So to your knowledge, has this gone to the trustees for a vote?
I don't know what department it went to. I was told that it had been approved.
Okay. Is there any way?
Who told you
Is there
that?
a reason that we couldn't get a contract, that you wouldn't want a written contract for this, just to know that this is coming for sure?
Well, I don't doubt that it's coming. So
That's great. And you're probably right. But honestly, when we're talking about this much money and we're talking about, running the city, I mean, I would think that we would want a written contract. Are you going to ask for that? If we were to say, I mean, I'm thinking maybe there'd be an amendment saying that we could vote for this, or, this could go through if we have a written contract with Ball State. I mean, I just feel like we need something more than a handshake.
well, it's more than a handshake. It's a written letter.
I see that.
And it is confirmed. And, I don't know what department and how they are funding it. It may not be from Ball State's general fund, but I was told that it was
About
approved.
that. I
Yeah.
just would like to see, a contract that says this is.
That is a pretty big. I applaud. I don't care what else Todd does for here on out. That is a pretty big statement that Dan just made there. He's stepping backwards. Well, I don't know what department it's coming from. I was told that it was approved, and I've got no problem. He's not saying Todd's lying, like Wayne said. These two guys would have stood up and been like, no, he's full of it. Those are wrong. Because remember when Todd stood up at the meeting, Dennis Otten from Bose McKinney and Evans, he stood up and he countered what Todd said in a couple places. These guys didn't do that. They kind of look like, he's got the same information we've got. And what Todd was able to get Dan to do right here was a big thing. And this is, I want to apply this to the same thing that Ridenauer did back a couple days ago, week ago, when he said that it was a 4-1 vote for the Industry Neighborhood Community Center and everything else that Dan has lied about along the way.
Ball State has committed to it. They provided a letter to each of you. You've had that for some time.
Yes.
And I'm very thankful for them. And I know it is very necessary for the construction of this facility because it's on an area of our city where the station is totally inadequate. We can only get 2 pieces in there. It has major repairs that are necessary. I understand.
And it's horrible. I totally agree.
I agree.
That's why this is important to get this money.
Yep.
And
We will get it. I think Ball State probably, I know President Mearns is committed to this. He wants it to happen, and it's going to happen once we have a contractor, which we will have if we get all the approval documents from you guys.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate it.
Just a follow up, and it might be for you.
Okay.
The lit, because we're using lit.
Mhm.
Are we certain that we have sufficient lit to cover? the
Yes,
expenses?
we are absolutely certain. And I think there's been information sent to each of you as well.
Yeah.
I'm
mostly asking
but
so we
yes,
can hear
yes.
in the public.
So we have, in fact, it has increased substantially as we've increased population. We've also increased some salaries. And again, our biggest challenge in our community is having places for people to live, because we have between 8,000 and 10,000 people that drive into Muncie each and every day, and they pay 0 lit in Delaware County if they're driving in from out of county. So they don't pay. We don't receive anything yet. They come in here, they use our services. We're thankful they are here, but we would prefer them move here. So I think we've done a very good job of increasing the population. We're up about 1,300 people in total in the 5 years, and that has increased the pool. And we are already well over, we're way ahead, several $100,000 ahead of the expected revenues already for lit because of the increased population. It's really helped.
Follow-up question?
Sure. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Sorry.
So, and the lit that you're saying, that's the public safety lit that we'll be paying that out of, or will
No,
we be paying that
it'll
out of the co-
it's out of the entire lit.
Okay.
So
And then-
that's the amount that comes to the council. That's the amount that comes to public safety. That's the amount that comes to edit funds. It comes out of that fund, just like the previous fire station. Station 6 was funded the exact same way.
And Mr. Mason, you had a question? No, you did not. Anyone else?
And so we don't see any danger of and I know that a lot of it has to be worded that way so that our bond rating and things along those lines in regards to backing up with property taxes. We don't see any danger in the lit not being sufficient so that we would have to then go to property taxes, correct?
I do not.
Thank you.
I do not see any problem with that. Thank you.
Okay. I want you to listen to this. This is big.
Anyone else?
Yeah, right. That's very true.
Rob Miller. The mayor just stated that they have the money in lit today. I don't disagree with that. I think if the fiscal picture looked like it does today, we're going to be fine for 20 years. But we know that there's an edit fund. It's going away. We will not have that money anymore. That is going to the county, and they're not going to give you the city any of that money, I suspect. Second, we know that property tax revenue is going to drop for the city. It's going to fall off a cliff. So my question is, have we done a stress test? What does it look like in 5, 10, 15 years when we've lost all of that money? Yes, I know lit will go up year over year if the city continues to grow, but is that going to make up the losses? Does anyone remember the last administration that had to suffer with budget problems? Mayor McShirley was shutting off streetlights. That was my first introduction to Muncie when I moved here, was the city was cutting services and streetlights because they couldn't afford to pay the bills. That was what shaped my initial opinion of the Muncie government. And I've seen them do better. I've seen you guys do better. But I am really concerned that in 5, 8, 10 years, we're going to be panicking in the city because where's the money going to come from? Are you going to start hiring police officers, city workers, closing parks? I mean, this money for this thing is guaranteed. They will get their money before everything else in the city. And I'm not saying that the firefighters don't deserve any money. Please don't take that this way.
Because it's because of what's going on with Senate Bill 1. There's a change in Senate Bill 1 and all of that, and so it's going to be it's things are going to be changing. It's at the end of 2028. Is that right, Kate? I think it's the end of 2028. I will look into this, but it's because of Senate Bill 1 or Senate Enrolled Act 1. Bronze nonsensical bill that's been a disaster all the way around in all aspects.
I'm just very concerned with the stuff that has changed at the State House as to what's going to happen to our city if you approve this as is today. Thank you.
Thank you. Todd Smeckens again. Just to piggyback on what he said, right now, it sounds really rosy. I love the mayor's optimism. The city of Muncie is rated 1 grade above junk.
Listen to this.
Okay. It's BB minus is a standard and poor rating. Why? Because we have too much debt. Okay. And that's before you add 11.5 million. So if you go to junk bonds where you can't get investor grade bonds, your price goes through the roof. I mean, they're going to charge you an arm and a leg for any funding that you want. So you might want to check into that. Thanks.
Anyone else?
Did our financial gurus down here say anything? Nope.
Yeah, Terry Moore. Like I said earlier, this city has only built, excluding number 6s, the city has built 1 fire station in the last 60 years. And I keep hearing number 7s, and that's the one that was built, and it's in dire need of updating. It's in terrible shape. It was never built to be what firefighters needed. Don't approve this now, and the next time it'll be in front of you, it'll be for 18 or 20 million.
Anyone else this evening?
Hi, I'm Janae Jackson. I'm a sergeant on the 2nd Battalion at Muncie Fire Station number 5. I just wanted to share a little bit about my experience there. I've been there for 5 months, with the department for 6 years. I don't know if the community is really aware that we're living in sewage most of the time. When we flush the toilets, sewage comes up through our drains. Our bays are constantly just a smell of sewage as it comes up. When you use the bathrooms there, when you sit down, the water comes up from the toilets. A lot of the things are not fixable at this point. And I just wanted to advocate for us because we don't get to go home at the end of the day. We don't do 8 hours at an office that's deplorable. We live there a third of our life. And so I hope that the community will also consider that. I can't speak on checks and balances and numbers, but I can speak on what we're living in. And we love our community and we're here to serve them. So I hope that the community will support us to have somewhere where we can have healthy living conditions while we're there. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, we have a first and a second. Roll call, please.
Garrett?
Yes.
Dishman?
Yes.
Gullion?
Yes.
Powell?
It's important to my district. Yes.
Selby?
Yes.
McIntosh?
I see that we're still trying to get a lot of money and we have all this money to be spent and everything. But I still feel for my brothers and sisters that haven't got that contract done in 2.5 years yet. And the city workers, they have lives and have to live hard too. So with that being said, and the way I feel about it, I have to say no.
It makes sense.
I'm gonna piggyback on what Sarah was talking about with the contract. I think they do need a contract, something more of a, something that has more of a teeth to it than just a letter. Letters come and go. We've heard that over and over, promises made and never kept.
Yes.
So I am going to have to vote no.
So those are your 2 no
Yes.
votes.
Yes.
So it passed 7-2.
Moving on to ordinance 14-26.
Okay. I'm going to pause this right here because it's a 3-hour meeting and we're right now just about an hour and 15 minutes and we are at 2 hours in. So the next ordinance that's up, we are on the agenda. Okay. We're done with the first page. We are on to the second page. All right. We just got done with the first actual business. The first actual business of the council is ordinances previously introduced. And the first one was Ordinance 9-26. And that's just the first one that we got done with there. So we are getting ready for Ordinance 1426. And that is the big ordinance that deals with the ordinance of the city of Muncie prohibiting department heads from serving on certain boards and commissions and establishing ethics and the conflicts of interest and standards. I don't want anybody to run away from this. I don't want anybody to have to check out, and I want to get all of this out. And I got to say, I guarantee you that there were probably a couple people that were like making phone calls a few minutes ago and being like, dude, I think he just died on TV. I literally think he just died. City Hall probably just lit up. They were like, oh my God, I think he died. I literally think he died. And I got to say, I am so sorry for that. This now makes my third pass through of this. And I have not been, I'm like traumatized by this meeting. This has never happened to me in government before. I'm normally able to listen to this stuff, but for whatever reason, I've got some kind of a trauma response, which I hate all those words, with this meeting. And it's now the third or maybe the fourth time I'm watching through this. And so I'm like, dude, I was sitting there watching it, and little did I know, I slowly started going, and I was out. Thank God Kate called me. But I didn't miss much. It's the third time I saw it, whatever. So it is what it is. But I know I made the city happy for a minute. They're probably disappointed that I picked up the phone. But I am going to do this. Kate brought up to my attention, generally, as we say here, an hour-long meeting is something that we cover in 2 hours. So normally, there was a meeting that we had the other day, a couple months ago, where it was like 3 hours, and we had like 12 hours of meetings that we covered in 3 hours. This meeting is just not going to be able to be done that way. So I'm actually going to break this into a two-parter. I hate doing that. But we're not going to end here, so don't be plugging off. I'm going to cover something else, but I just want to let you guys know we still have the entire discussion on Ordinance 1424, and the reason I'm doing this is there's no part of that discussion that I think we can skip. I think we have to listen to every minute of the entirety of it and talk about the thoughts and points of that. Okay. Then resolutions 1026 and 1126, those go very quickly. Those are just, they're attached to Ordinance 926, and they both are voted on 9-0. So there's nothing there. So we have a very long listen on Ordinance 1426 to get through. And then we have a very long listen through public concerns that we need to get through. And we're going to have to listen to a lot of those. And my big blow up comes in Ordinance 1426. So we're going to do a teaser. You're going to have to tune in tomorrow to hear that. But I am going to end tonight before we leave on what happened with the vetoed Ordinance 1326, and then what happened with the new ordinance that's on there, 1526. And so this is what we will end on. And I'm going to say this. I'm trying to figure out how I want to do this. I'm going to read to you. Hey, see you, Karen. See you tomorrow. I hope you check back in and check this out because you will like to hear what I got to say about this, and we'll see you tomorrow. But I want to read this to you, okay? And then I'll explain this. So my statement going into the meeting yesterday on Ordinance 1326 and 1526 was this. I prepared my 10-page document that I wrote up, the Political Spotlight published 10-page document. You've seen this. And I was going to give a copy to each one of these to the council. And then I was going to provide a copy, a hard copy, to the clerk to put on the record. So wasted all that paper, but it was a good reason. Okay. But I am going to read this going into this because I think that this is very, very important. So my statement is as follows. This whole ordinance 1326/1526 ordeal has been a wild example of political gameplay. To use the Muncie Redevelopment Director's phrase, gameplay, that's what he called it, who oddly, again, he wasn't there last night. I just find that to be so odd that he's so been out of shape over this whole ordeal, but he's not attended any of the meetings where this has been discussed. I just find that so odd. You would think when these issues would arise, the people involved would understand the importance of attending, but that tells me a lot, and it should tell you a lot as well. I want to share a few interesting facts about this situation. Mayor Ridenour submitted a letter in support of the McKinley neighborhood overlay on May 29th, 2026. Then acting Mayor Jeff Howe submitted his own letter of support on June 2nd. Ordinance 1326 was filed on June 18th, 2026, and was considered by Muncie City Council on July 6th. During that meeting, no one from the administration appeared to withdraw that support. No one publicly warned the council that they felt the ordinance allegedly conflicted with Indiana law. No one explained that the ordinance supposedly created serious legal problems. Instead, after an excellent presentation by McKinley neighborhood representatives, and with no one speaking against it, the council unanimously introduced Ordinance 1326. They unanimously suspended the rules, and they unanimously passed it. Heck, at-large and I noticed I said heck, at-large Councilor Dale Basham, who ran for his seat by promising to not be a voice and a vote for the citizens, but rather by being a voice and a vote for the mayor, he even remarked at the end of the neighborhood's presentation last month that this is the way to present an ordinance. Obviously, I have read Howell's veto letter, but I have also stumbled upon an email indicating that Howell had apparently developed concerns about the ordinance before the council meeting. But oddly, that email wasn't sent to a city councilor. It was sent to the building commissioner. That document, along with the veto letter, has raised an obvious question in my mind. If those concerns existed before the vote, who on the city council was told? I have been asking this since Tuesday, July 14th, 2026, and none of you have come forward to say that Hal talked with you. So again, in the meeting, by a show of hands, how many of you are willing to go on record and state that Hal talked to you?
You're breaking up. Stop. Yeah, you're glitching again. So give it a minute.
How?
Sorry, everyone. Internet's so fun.
Can you still not see me or hear me?
Now the sound. Keep talking for a minute. The sound seems
All
better.
right. Can you hear me? Is it getting better? Are we getting better? How far into this have you not been able to hear me?
Last 30 seconds.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Talk some more. I'll give
Okay,
you a
folks.
thumbs
Hello.
up.
Can you hear me? Time. Can you hear me? One.
And now he's gone. Oh, Lord. I'm so sorry. Now you're stuck with my face in all its glory. Please come back, Kristopher, and save me. Oh, okay. Here he comes again. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Oh, and it's wonderful now. I'm going to go
Oh,
away
great.
now that I've terrified everyone with my face in living color.
Can you hear me? All right. So did you hear me say that Dale said this is not a way to this is a way to present an ordinance? Did you hear that? Okay. I said, heck, at large Councilor Dale Basham, who ran for his seat by not promising to be a voice and a vote for the citizens, but by promising to be a voice and a vote for the mayor. Hold on, deleting some of my I was deleting some of my browser crap. Even he remarked at the end of the neighborhood's presentation last month that this was this was the way to present an ordinance. Obviously, I've read House veto letter, but I have also stumbled upon an email indicating that Howe had apparently developed concerns about the ordinance before the council meeting. But oddly, that email wasn't to a city councilor. It was to the building commissioner. That document, along with his veto letter, has raised an obvious question in my mind. If those concerns existed before the vote, who on the city council was told? I have been asking since Tuesday, July 14th, 2026, and none of you have come forward to say that he talked to you. So I again ask you in this meeting, by a show of hands, how many of you are willing to say that Jeff Howe spoke to you before the meeting? Which of you did he contact with before July 6th meeting? When did those conversations occur? How were they communicated? By phone, text, message, email, or in person? If those concerns were communicated beforehand, why did none of those concerns surface during the public discussion? Why did they not surface during the public discussion? Why did every councilor present vote in favor of introducing the ordinance, suspending the rules, and passing it? Those are legitimate questions that deserve a straightforward answer or answers. Since publishing my 10-page report on July 25th, 2026, and even through repeated emails, none of you have publicly stated that Hal warned you of concerns, that he later cited in a veto letter. I've been made aware of an independent legal memorandum prepared by a local attorney, and while I'm not sure who all has seen this, I'm sure at least some of you have heard of it. It also concludes that while portions of the Ordinance 1326 could be clarified or refined through amendments, none of the objections raised in the veto required and the ordinance to be vetoed in the first place. The proper course remains unchanged. Muncie City Council should override the veto of Ordinance 1326. Then, if District 5 City Councilor Jerry Dishman chooses to do so, he should withdraw Ordinance 1526. If he does not, the council should vote it down and address any legitimate legal questions through the ordinary amendment process. That's what I was prepared to go in and read yesterday. And I want to say what I've said all along throughout this. I don't live there. And my decision to be involved with this was simply on what's right. And I felt what was right was what the people, the residents, the property owners, the stakeholders of the McKinley neighborhood wanted. That's what I felt was right. Well, prior to going into the meeting, I became aware through my sources both at City Hall and my sources out in the community, out and about, I became aware of a negotiation, I guess, a back and forth between members of the stakeholders of the McKinley neighborhood and the Ridenour administration and various people back and forth and all these different things. Okay. I wanted stand by here. I want to pull this thing up here really quickly. Sorry, I'm trying to get give me 1 second. I'm trying to get this pulled up properly. So I became aware of these negotiations, and I was told that the city, Dan Ridenour, the mayor, and the people that he has involved on his side of the negotiation, and the neighborhood came to an agreement. And without knowing all of the details, okay, I was made aware that at some point yesterday, like the 11th hour, that representatives of the McKinley Neighborhood Association met with the mayor to discuss the future of the neighborhood overlay. And that the representatives of the neighborhood felt that there was a productive conversation. And that at some point, somehow, the neighbors and Ridenour and everyone involved reached an agreement that the neighbors believed was in the best long-term interest of the neighborhood. As part of the agreement, the city agreed to withdraw Ordinance 1526 if the neighborhood agreed to not pursue an override of the veto on Ordinance 1326. All right. And I'm just going to throw this out there, and maybe I'm all wrong, but I feel like this negotiation happened because right, wrong, or indifferent, and everything else I've said about the council and Ridenour, for whatever reason, I believe that the neighborhood and the council more than likely had 6 votes, at least, maybe 6 or 7 votes. And that 1326 wanted it, it could have been overrode. That the veto would have been overridden, and that veto would have gone away, and 1326 would have been back. Now, I don't know what that would have looked like after that happened. I don't know what kind of work would have went into that. I don't know what kind of fight that the city would have given or whatever. But at the last minute, at the last hour, they did not need that because they came to a negotiation. Now, I know that sounds odd because I've been sitting here talking tonight through a lot of this, talking about how Ridenour doesn't tell the truth. Ridenour is not trustworthy. I don't give him the benefit of the doubt. We shouldn't give him the benefit of the doubt. He's been found to lie. We've got proof of him lying just a week and a half ago. And then we have proof of these people saying, no, the vote didn't happen. There's all these other examples of lying that I have. That said, a broken clock is right twice a day. And even when I dislike Ridenour and I won't give him the benefit of the doubt, there are still times that he can make the right decision. And I will praise him if he deserves it and when he deserves it. And I will say in this matter, at least at this point, and he might surprise me. And if he does, I'll say, oh my God, you tricked me again. You fooled me again. Shame on me, because he's fooled me a whole bunch of other times. If that happens, we'll say that and we'll nail him to it. Okay. But for right
I
now,
don't think he gets the benefit of the doubt, because if he wanted the benefit of the doubt, he would have done this.
well, it's not, I'm
regardless.
not giving him the benefit of the doubt. And I agree. He does. We're,
He
and
only
I've
did this
told people.
because he was afraid they were going to override that veto and they were going to end up with
Absolutely.
an ordinance
Absolutely.
he did not want.
Yeah.
So now he has an opportunity to rewrite it,
Yep.
and we'll
Yep.
see what bullshit he tries to squeeze in.
Absolutely.
So the neighborhood needs to be watching, because I don't
Well,
trust him any further than I can throw him.
As I told you last night, like I said, as far as I'm concerned, they have to approach this partnership and this negotiation with him with almost like their foot on his throat in a way, because of everything that we see. So no, he doesn't get the benefit of the doubt, and I'm not giving him the benefit of the doubt. I'm just saying, look, if I lived in the neighborhood, if I lived in the neighborhood, maybe I would feel different. And maybe I would say, no, I'm still going to fight him. But I don't live there. And so because of that, I will do what I want the council to do. I will do what I want the council to do. I will do what I want Reinauer to do. I will defer to the people who live there. And if they are saying they're happy, I'm not giving him the benefit of the doubt. I don't trust him. I think he could still screw this up. But if they are still in a place where they want to trust him and they think that they have what they need to keep him here, and they're willing to rework all of this with him, I will say, good for you. Sleep with both eyes open. Don't have everybody fall asleep at the same time. Keep men watching him. I'm being facetious here, but keep an eye open and stay ready. But if they have come to an agreement and they are fine with the agreement, who am I to stand in the way of that? So whether I agree with it or not, or whether I like it or not, or no matter my feelings of right now, I will say, from what I'm hearing, the people of the McKinley neighborhood are currently happy with what they've heard. And because of that, I will give Reinauer the attaboy for coming to the meeting. Even if it's because he was defeated and he knew it was going to be, the veto was going to be done away with, or for whatever reason, right, wrong, or indifferent, he can do the right thing for the wrong reasons if the neighborhood people are happy. You can do the right thing for the right reasons. You can do the wrong thing for the wrong reasons. You can do the wrong thing. Maybe it was the wrong thing to do, but you had the right reasons to do it. Or you can do the right thing for the wrong reasons. And it's like, what's going on here? At the end of the day, if the stakeholders are happy, I'm happy. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. As Kate said, the biggest concern is he drags his feet. There's no overlays presented until after he's lined up a bunch of BS projects. And I got to say, there is some things that I have heard that I'm just not comfortable at this point releasing, because it's not my story to tell. So I will, and basically it's just about like the properties that are in there and who might be looking at them, who's not looking at them, what's happening. It's things like that. At some point in the near future, that stuff's going to come out. But at this point, it's not for me to say. So the first test was, because here's all they needed to do. If Reinauer was going to flat out lie, He could have said, listen, if we agree to this, you don't push for the override of 1326, and we will withdraw 1526. He could have told them that. Then we could have all showed up to the meeting, and they could have already told all the councilors, all right, don't bring up 1326, just let it die. And then at the last minute, they could have tried voting in 1526. He could have done that and screwed them over. He didn't. So he stood behind his word for whatever reason on that. And I will give him the round of applause he deserves. And I will give it up for the stakeholders of the neighborhood for working it and busting their ass for all this time they've been doing it, the ins and the outs and the ups and the downs. And I want to say, for all of these people that are involved in the McKinley neighborhood, don't go away now that this is done. Stay active. Stay active in the city. Follow what's going on. We need you guys. You guys are good. Stay active in what's going on in the county. Continue watching the show. Continue reaching out. Continue networking with other people, because that's what we need. And who knows? Maybe we've got a couple future city councilors in the neighborhood. Maybe we have a future mayor in the neighborhood. Help other NIMBYs, please. You know, it is what it is. If Ridenhour does these people wrong, there will be hell to pay. That's all I got to say. But if he's willing to do them right, and they're willing to live by that, then I'm not going to say anything negative. Okay? So they feel that there will be a collaborative effort moving forward with the mayor and the city staff and the residents to draft a revised overlay ordinance. It will give the neighborhood the opportunity to strengthen the ordinance and incorporating thoughtful amendments that everyone can agree on. And, you know, I think they're aware that this is not the path that was expected. But at the end of the day, I think that this is a positive step forward. And, you know, my goal is different than their goal. You know, I've been at this long enough that sometimes I want what's best for Muncie, but I am so sick of the nonsense. It's a win-lose type of thing. The goal here for the neighborhood has never been a win of a political fight. The goal has always been to create the best possible future for the neighborhood. And they have always said that they believed in the collaborative approach. And this negotiation gave them that. So there's been a lot of good support from people in the community, people that wrote letters, sent emails, attended meetings, spoke publicly, signed petitions, knocked on doors, shared information, planned to attend last night's meeting, and that's good. The work is not finished. Okay. It's just entering a new day, a new chapter, and hopefully there will be a new draft soon. And a meeting can be scheduled and people can see it and all of that can happen. It's very important that that happens, and they just have to watch. So that's what happened with 1326. That's why it was not brought up at last night's meeting at all. 1526, Jerry did attempt to withdraw it on his own, like all situations like this. Generally, the sponsoring counselor is able to withdraw it and just simply be that. However, and this is something that I didn't specifically know. It's because I haven't seen this a whole lot of times. But because it dealt with zoning and the Muncie Planning Commission and all of that, it wasn't just something that Jerry could withdraw. he had to withdraw it. He had to make the motion to withdraw. It had to be seconded, and they actually had to take a vote on it. And they voted 9-0 to withdraw 1526. So not only did Ridenauer and Jerry live up to it, but the rest of the council lived up to the agreement that was made. We just have to hope that that's the way forward. And my question is, and I will put this, and this is, we're going to end on this. If Ridenauer was able and willing to cooperate and negotiate with these people about this, why can't he be willing to do that on other subjects with other people, other neighborhoods, the industry neighborhood thing, Shed Town on various things? You know, these people or that. Ridenauer would be such a better mayor if he was willing to communicate, willing to be transparent, and willing to negotiate more. So that's all I've got to say about that. That's the reason 1526 was withdrawn. We have not seen that part of the meeting yet, but you will see it tomorrow. That's the reason 1326 was not mentioned, and we're going to call it a night. Please hit the like button before you leave. And remember, we're not done with this meeting. We still have a long way to go. We have another 2 hours tomorrow. So tune in tomorrow, and we will listen to the very important discussion around Ordinance 1426. We will then let you see the withdrawal of 1526. We will then speed through the resolutions 10 and 1126 because that's quick. And then we will listen to the discussion around the public comments. So thank you guys for tuning in. Please share this show, get out the information, and we'll see you back here tomorrow for part 2 of this madness. You guys take care. God bless, and good night.